Hi guys at welcome sa ating ikalimang lesson sa Cosman 2, ang cost-volume-profit relationships. Dito, pinag-uusapan ng relationship ng tatlong factor na ito. Kunwari, in order to attain this profit, ilan dapat yung volume ng ibebenta mo? Or in order to attain this level of profit, ano dapat ang iyong cost structure? So maraming concepts ang CVP at i-rundown natin yan ngayon. So, yung mga concept natin, pag-usapan natin yung break-even point at yung sales at target profit. Pag-usapan natin yung margin of safety at yung degree of operating leverage. Unahin natin yung concept ng break-even point. Yung break-even point is the sales level kung saan bawi ka lang. You're not making a profit, you're not making a loss, pero sakto lang. Bawi ka lang talaga. And it can be expressed as either in units or in pesos. At ito yung formula nila. Fixed cost divided by CM per unit or fixed cost divided by CM ratio. Ang idea ng formula ay parang ganito. Kinakalaban mo yung fixed cost at yun yung antagonist ng ating story. So kunwari, meron kang stall sa isang mall at nirerenta mo ng 5,000, yan ang iyong numerator at yun ang iyong binabawi. So, lemonade stall ka, nagbebenta ka ng tag 50 pesos, kunwari ang iyong cost noon, variable cost para sa cup ay 30 pesos. So, ang labas, 50 minus 30, kada isa pagbenta mo, meron kang 20. So, kapag ang labas, para maka-break even, para mabawi mo yung 5,000 na renta mo, 5,000 divided by 20 ang kita mo bawat lemonade, ang labas, kailangan mo magbenta ng 250 para maka-break even. So, ganun yung idea ng formula. Ngayon, let's look at the illustrative problem. Jose's Cabinets sells a product for $360 per unit. The company's variable cost per unit is $60 for direct material, $40 per unit for direct labor, $34 per unit for overhead, and $10 per unit for selling and admin expense. Annual fixed production overhead is $7,480 and fixed selling and administrative is $5,480. Okay, so let's look at it. First question, what is the contribution margin per unit? Gamitin natin yan mamaya sa pag-solve ng break-even. So para makuha mo yung contribution margin per unit, it's basically ang sales minus ang variable cost. Contribution margin. So para malaman yon, ang sales naman halata, nandito sa taas. 360 isa. Pero yung variable cost, i-compute natin. So ang variable cost per unit, maraming components. Hilayin natin yan ngayon. For direct material, may 60 daw. May direct label daw na 40. Tapos merong 34 for overhead. Tapos may 10 for selling and administrative. So kung i-add mo yung lahat, ilan to? Yan ay magiging, 60 plus 40 plus 34 plus 10, yan ay magiging 144 variable cost per unit. Kailangan din natin ng fixed cost. So lalagay na natin yan ng fixed cost. Ang fixed cost natin yan ay magiging 74,800 for production and 54,80 for selling and admin. So add natin yung dalawa. Ayan. At yan ang iyong total fixed cost. So first question, what is the contribution margin per unit? Binibenta natin ng 360 isa. Ang variable cost nun is 144 to produce it. Halos ang contribution ng bawat isang benta mo, may kita ka ng 216. Second question, what is the contribution margin ratio? Basically, ang CM ratio or CMR is expressing the contribution margin as a percent of the sale. So, kung ang contribution margin mo ay 216, i-express mo yan as a percent ng sale out of the 360, basically meron kang 60% contribution margin or 0.6 na ratio. Okay, ngayon, pwede na natin i-solve yung break-even. So, solve natin. What is the break-even point in units? Ang formula ulit natin is ang fixed cost at i-divide natin by CM per unit. So, ang fixed cost natin, kailangan natin bawiin yung 125,280. Divide natin by CM per unit. Bawat isa, kikita ng 216. And therefore, ang ating break-even point in units is basically ito, divided by yan. So, you have to sell 580 para maka-break even. bawi lang. Ang maganda sa break-even is you can actually check, talaga bang 580 ang break-even? Check nga natin, makabawi ba tayo? So to do that, we can simulate an income statement and check kung talaga ba yun ang break-even point. So, gawa tayo ng income statement na absorption costing format. So, yan. Tingnan natin yan. So, sige. Sales. Ang sales natin, try natin, ay magiging 360 ang benta mo isa. Maka-break even daw kung makabenta ka ng 580. Sige, testing natin. Yan. So, kung ganun, yan ang yung sale. Ang yung variable cost, syempre, if you sell the 580, ang cost nun is 144 bawat isa. So, gagastos tayo ng, ayan, 83. Kung i-minus natin yan, ang contribution margin total natin is 125 to 80. Tapos, syempre, gastusin natin ang fix is 125 to 80. At yan ay operating income of exactly 0. So, talagang, totoo nga pala. Pag makabenta tayo ng 580, break even. Sakto tayo. So, yan. Okay. Sunod, ang ating break even also can be computed as not in the number of units, but in terms of pesos. So, ang formula nun is fixed cost divide by CMR. No? Divide by CMR. So, that's stating it as pesos. So, kung gagawin natin yan, ang fixed cost natin ulit ay 125 to 80. Divide natin by ang CM ratio, which is 8.6. No? Tapos, therefore, lalabas ang BEP in pesos. And kung i-divide natin yan ay 208,800 pesos para maki-break even. Okay. So, actually, na-solve na natin yan kanina. Sa income statement, talagang, tama siya. 208,800 daw para maka-break even in terms of pesos. Ang susunod na concept that is very closely related to break even is the concept of sales at target profit. Dito, ang target natin ngayon, hindi lang break even, pero may profit. So, anong level of sales in units or in pesos para magkaroon tayo ng ganitong profit? So, ang formula is actually very similar to break even. Pero ngayon, ang numerator mo is may dagdag. Fixed cost plus desired profit over CM per unit. Or fixed cost plus desired profit over CMR. Yung idea nun is that yung contribution margin mo, hindi lang pambawi sa fixed cost, but it now aims to achieve a certain profit. So, meron siyang padagdag sa side. Sige nga, try natin. Ito, using the exact same given. Solve natin ngayon. Same given, iba lang yung tanong. Question letter E. If Jose's Cabinets wants to earn a pre-tax profit of 51,840, how many units must the company sell? So, to do that, dapat meron siyang, again, that's fixed cost plus target desired profit. So, 125 to 80. Ngayon, may dagdag tayo ng desired profit. Gusto ko magka 51,840. So, yan ang numerator mo. Divide by CM per unit. At alam na natin yun kanina. 216. And therefore, dapat daw we should sell 820. So, in order to get that amount in profit. You can actually test that also. And you can see na you have to sell that amount. It is clearly higher than break-even. 580 para may break-even, pero kung gusto mo ng 50 mil na profit, benta ka ng 820. Mas marami. Similar question, assume a tax rate for the company of 30%. If Jose's Cabinets wants to earn an after-tax profit of 135,800, how many units must the company sell? Okay. So, dito meron tayong tax rate. So, paano yan, sa break-even formula, para simple, yung desired profit mo sa formula, dapat before tax, para wala tayong panggugulo na tax. So, you have to work back. In this case, pag meron kang profit after tax na 135,800, ilan dapat yung kita mo bago siya i-tax? So, kailangan i-divide natin siya by 1 minus tax rate. So, in this case, i-divide natin 30% yung tax rate, it is 70%. So, dapat yung profit before tax mo, before pa siya i-tax, dapat kikita siya ng 194,000. 194,000. So, therefore, if you plug it in the formula, then therefore, to get that amount of profit, then fixed cost plus desired profit, that's going to be, again, that's 125,280 plus you want also 194,000 divide by CM per unit, and that's 216. So therefore you have to sell 1,478.14 to get that big profit of 194,000 pesos. Sir, may butal. So how do I round off break-even point? Do I round it off? Do I round it up? Do I round it down? Ito yung stand namin, ano? The break-even point theoretically should not be rounded off. Simply because pag i-round off mo pataas, edi may konting profit ka na. Kung pababa naman, edi hindi ka na rin break-even. Dapat talagang break-even. So, as a theoretical point, it must not be rounded off. For classroom purposes, you can always use 2 decimal places. But again, BEP is not rounded off. Okay. Ang susunod na concept natin ay ang concept ng margin of safety. It is the difference between sales and break-even sales. It will make you feel safe in the sense na, kunwari, ang break-even sale mo para maka-break-even is 100 units. Kapag ang sales mo talaga is 120, di may excess ka na 20. No? May sobra ka sa break-even na 20, ayun ang yung safety, margin of safety. You can afford to lose that and still be break-even. So, try natin tong i-compute. Ito sa ating illustrative problem. David wants to cash in on the increased demand for ethanol. Accordingly, he purchased a corn farm in Mindanao. David believes his corn crop can be sold to an ethanol plant for 4.8 per kilo. Variable cost associated with growing and selling a kilo of corn is 4. And David's annual fixed cost is 132K. What is the break-even point in sales pesos and kilos? And then second question, what is the margin of, if David produces 200,000, what is the margin of safety? Okay. So before we compute the margin of safety, break-even muna. Again, break-even point in units and in pesos. So, diretso na natin. Siguro familiar mo na. In units, it's fixed cost divided by CM per unit. So, ang fixed cost na bababawi ay 132,000 divided by CM per unit. Ang CM is a sale of 4.8 daw. Bawat isa, ang cost mo 4. So, ang CM ng isa ay 0.8. So, divided by that particular CM, you need 165,000 kilos para ma-break even. In pesos naman, that's fixed cost of 132 divided by the ratio of contribution margin ratio. The ratio is the contribution margin of 0.8 as a percentage of the sale, which is 4.8. So if you do that, you have to sell 790,000 pesos to break even. Okay, yan, break even point. Ngayon second, yung tanong naman, if David actually produces 200,000 kilos, what is the margin of safety in kilos, in pesos, and as a percent? So, there are 3 ways to express your margin of safety. Isa-isahin natin. Again, it's the excess of your sale from your break-even sale. So, kung ang iyong sales dito ni David, nakabenta daw siya ng 200,000 kilos, ilan ang kanyang safety? Kasi yung break-even sales naman is break-even in kilos, break-even point in units is actually 165,000 para mag-break-even. Kung magbenta siya ng 200, meron na siyang safety ng 35,000 kilos. Pag pesos naman, ang kanyang sales ay 200,000 kilos, i-pesos natin yan. So, 200,000 kilos, kung i-pesos natin yan, syempre, pagbenta mo, 4.8 daw isa. So, 960K ang kanyang sales. Para maka-break even, kailangan daw niya magbenta ng 792,000. So, meron siyang safety, margin of safety na 168,000 in pesos. Now, you can also express it as a percentage. So, you express the margin of safety as a percentage of your sale. So, let's pull the margin of safety. No? Kunin natin yon na 35,000. Ilang percent yan ng benta mo? Ang sales naman ni David, meron siyang 200,000 kilos. So, kung 35,000 yung sobra niya, ilang percent yon? 17%. Or as a ratio, 0.175. So, yan. You can also use the pesos figure to determine the percentage. Same thing really. So, yun ang margin of safety. Ang susunod na concept ay ang concept ng degree of operating leverage or DOL. DOL. Bago mo ma-appreciate kung ano yung point niya or concept niya, memorize mo muna yung formula. Tapos, later on, you will appreciate its purpose. So, formula natin, paki-memorize, is a contribution margin divided by profit before tax. So, contribution margin divided by profit before tax. Sige, let's do that. Ito ang ating given. Morgi Tire Company manufactures tires for all-terrain bicycles. The tires sell for 60 and the variable cost per tire is 45. Monthly fixed cost is 450K. If the company is currently selling 40,000 tires, what is the degree of operating leverage? Alright, memorize mo pa? CM divided by profit before tax. Pero para ma-solve mo kasi itong dalawang component na to, gawa ka na lang ng income statement. Kasi doon siya lumalabas. Sige, gawa tayo ng income statement. Ito ang ating format. No? So, start tayo sa sales. 40,000 ang benta. Magkano isa? 60 pesos daw. So, 2.4. Ang variable cost noon is, kung benta natin yung 40,000, ang cost noon ay 45. So, 1.8. Contribution margin natin ay 600K. Fixed cost natin, nandun sa taas din, 450K. And profit natin is 150,000 pesos. So, yan. Lalagay natin sa formula, CM divided by the profit. So, the CM divided by the profit. Ang degree of operating leverage is exactly 4. So, yan ang DOL mo, 4. So, para i-appreciate natin yan, the DOL is used or can be used to determine this. No? You can determine the percent change in profit by multiplying the percentage change in sales times your DOL. Okay? Tingnan mo muna. Appreciate mo muna. So, for example, kapag ang percent change in sales mo ay 10%, ang DOL mo ay 4, then you can expect that your profit will become 40%. No? The DOL, the degree of operating leverage, translates your sales into profit. It's like a lever, no? 10%, yan yung lever, i-magnify niya yan into 4, maging 40% change in profit. So, the bigger the lever, the higher impact to the profit. So, sir, totoo ba yan? Pwede natin ulit i-test, no? If talagang 4, we'll check if it is really 4. Sige nga, tingnan natin. Testing natin, what if nga tataas ng 10%? Talaga bang 40% yung change in profit? Okay. So, sige, taas natin. Increase by 10%. So, ang sales natin, taas natin by 10%. So, yan, maging 2,640. Siyempre, pag tataas ang sales, change in sales by 10%, variable cost will follow exactly also by 10%. So, yeah. Contribution margin will therefore be that minus, so 660 contribution margin. The fixed cost will be, of course, fixed, hindi yan gagalaw. So, for 50 at ang profit mo ay magiging 210. So, yeah. So, let's see. Ang change in ang sales natin is 240,000 and that's an increase of 10%. If you increase the sale by 10%, ayon sa DOL, then your profit will increase by 40%. That is the power of your lever. So, talaga ba? Test natin. So, tumaas ang profit by 210 minus 150, that's 60K. At tumaas ang profit by 40%. So, yeah, talaga, tama siya. Yan ang iyong DOL. So, that's how you use it. Okay. Okay ka pa? Huling concept. Balik tayo sa concept ng break-even. Last na to kasi ito medyo kunting complicated, best for last. So, basahin natin tong break-even problem na to na may kunting twist. Chris Pep Ventures makes small press resin ducks and ducklings. For every duck sold, the company sells 4 ducklings. The following information is available about the company's selling prices and cost. Yan. Selling price, variable cost per unit, and total fixed cost. No? Okay. Solve na natin yung kanyang contribution margin. Importante yan. So, lagay na natin, no? So, lagay na natin sa DAC, 24, cost 12, edi 12. 12 minus 7.2, edi 4.8. So, yan ang kanilang CM per unit ng bawat isa. Now, let's calculate break-even. Ang classical formula natin, no? Normally, the formula is like so. It's, again, fixed cost divided by CM per unit. That's normally your formula. So, lalagyan natin ng fixed cost na 5.2 divided by, bawiin natin yan using the CM per unit. Yung twist dito, may dalawang product. Nagbebenta siya both ducks and duckling. So, anong CM per unit ang ilagay ko dito? Ducks or ducklings? Siyempre, kung ducks lang, edi hindi siya nagbebenta ng ducklings. Kung ducklings naman, edi walang ducks. So, paano ni-solve? Pwede ba natin gawin yan? I-solve natin ang break-even point ng ducks, 5.2 divided by 12, tapos yun ang ilang ducks, tapos 5.2 divided by 4.8, yun yung ilang ducklings na ibenta mo. Now, if you do that, 2 break-even points, edi if you sell both that number of ducks and number of ducklings, lampas ka na ng break-even. No? Binenta mo ng ducks, break-even ka na, binenta mo pa yung isa, profit ka na. So, you cannot use this formula if there are 2 or more products. So, in order to use this particular formula for more than one product, you have to alter the denominator such that itong CM per unit ang gagamitin natin dito. Hindi ng ducks, hindi ng ducklings, but a CM per unit that represents both of them. CM per unit represents both of them. So, kapag ganito ang concept, nang magbabago lang ng kunti ang formula, dadagdagan lang siya ng 2 letra na weighted average contribution margin per unit. Sa isa naman, edi weighted average, CMR. So, yun. This will now represent both products. And ang lalabas, representative of both products. Sige nga, solve natin para maging klaro sa iyo. So, ducks and ducklings. Ang kinilang CM is 24 and 12. We must form an average CM. So, to do that, you should know how much they are sold. Napaka-importante dito ang tinatawag na sales mix. Kung nagbinibenta to, what is the ratio of ducks to ducklings? And that ratio will always be true. So, in this case, kapag binibenta siya na parang package, it's always a ratio of 1:4 nandun sa given. For every duck sold, the company sells 4 ducklings. So, ito yung mix. So, yan ang ratio nila. We can now form an average. So, total natin yan. Product natin, yan. Okay? So, lalabas yan parang total CM, no? Pag magbenta ka ng 5, total CM, divide by the 5 items. Oops. Sorry, apologies. Ang CM pala natin ay 12 at 4.8 respectively. Okay? So again, that's a CM of 12 and 4.8. Sales mix 1, 4, and then yan. Alright. So, as you can see, ang average natin ngayon for both products, the contribution margin is now 6.24. Pag ducks lang, it's 12. Pag ducklings, it's 4.8. And therefore, ang average nila is 6.24. So, the fixed cost of 5.2, divide natin by 6.24. Yan ay magiging break-even point of you have to sell 833.33. Ngayon, next question. 833 what? Ducks or ducklings? O, pag-isipan mo. Since the CM represents both of them, it's 833, both of them, ducks and ducklings. So, the next question would be, kung 833 ducks and ducklings, ilan doon ang ducks at ilan doon ang ducklings? Eh, syempre, they are always sold on a ratio of 1:4. So, therefore, kung 1:4, edi yung ducks dyan is definitely going to be 1:4. So, 1/5 of that is ducks, and then 4/5 of that is ducklings. So, there. So, 166 ducks and 666 ducklings. If you sell this, then you will arrive at, you will break even. You will break even. So, ayan. So, recap tayo. Recap, no? There are several concepts in cost, volume, profit. Again, you should know how to compute break-even point in units and in pesos. Kapag in units, that's fixed cost divided by CM per unit. Pag in pesos, it's fixed cost divided by CMR. Pag more than one product, ang CM per unit, nilalagyan ng weighted average. At ang CMR, pwede din gawing weighted average. Susunod ang sales at target profit, also at units and in pesos. Very similar, fixed cost plus desired profit divided by CM per unit or CMR. And lastly, the margin of safety, where you compare the sales and the sales to break even. So you can express it as a number of units in terms of number of pesos, or as a percentage. And lastly, you should be familiar with DOL, which is computed as CM divided by the profit before tax. And that will be your DOL. And you use it basically by determining, you can determine the percent change in profit by multiplying the percent change in sales by the DOL. At yun ang mga different concepts ng CVP. At hanggang doon lang muna tayo. Maraming salamat.